Mr. Page, largest landlord in Reno. What are the main markets we are competing with on the industrial distribution space, and are we winning?
This slide, I'm Brandon Page. Thanks, Par, for the intro.
Give a quick introduction of what you do.
Sure. I oversee the market, run the market for Prologis here in Reno. Prologis is a real estate investment trust, publicly traded company. We own approximately 16.5 million feet here. So to put it in context, it's roughly 40% of the competitive base in the industrial market. We're the landlord. And conversely, we also, somewhere between 300 and 350 different individual businesses, we're their landlord. So from a perspective of, my perspective comes from the landlord, warehousing, industrial side, and have a pretty good feel about what's going on in the local community. The slide I had put up here, actually dusted this off. It's a couple years old, so I think until the new census comes out, these numbers are good. This represents regional distribution, percentage of U.S. population within 500 miles, or what's in one day. When you talk about why we're here and who we compete with, this tells a lot. 16% of the U.S. population is within 1 day's drive, which is pretty darn good for being such a small community. Orange County, 15%. Las Vegas, 16%, bigger than Phoenix. So I think we're sitting a little over 70 million square feet on our industrial base, and we have the privilege of being the largest industrial base square footage-wise per capita in the United States. Talking about markets that we compete with, I think everyone here is at every logistics area. Why are we here? Because we service the 13 western states. Who do we compete with? I'd say primarily, even though today I feel like we're just competing with ourselves, with the lack of inbound businesses. But generally speaking, I do think we compete with the Bay Area. We are the closest to being in California with actually being in California. Central Valley, Stockton, East Bay. I think really the driver of that, I look at a couple of our biggest customers in the market, one of which being BarnesandNoble.com, and the other being Amazon. And they're both in the catalog business. And I spoke with a couple of my colleagues and throughout our region, and like for example, Crate and Barrel and Sears, both were looking at Reno, both ended up in the Central Valley. Barnes & Noble and Amazon are both here. They run catalog businesses and they don't have the sales tax if they're being in the state of California. So in cases like that where they need to be, and it's a disadvantaged business-wise and cost-wise, we're gonna get them. From a pure cost of transportation, location, if they need to be in California, they're going to be in California. The warehousing side is such an insignificant portion, and I think as markets across the West went up in the boom, we would always pitch, well, we're more cost effective. But when you really look at as a percentage of your overall business, the actual warehousing portion, it's minimal. So yes, we are winning some. We're not, we're losing others, but it really depends on the driver of what they're looking for.
Can you just comment? I think we're around 14% vacant right now. There's a couple large deals in the market that could cut that, but in your forecasting for Reno, if a healthy vacancy is 9%, 8%, what's your forecast on when we may reach that level?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we're at the highest, setting a new record, it seems like every quarter for vacancy. At the peak, we were under 5%. We're sitting at about 15.5%, 16%, somewhere in that range. The good news is that we're only 70 million square feet. If we were, 15% vacant in a 2 billion square foot market, we got a lot of wood to chop, but we're not. And if you look at, the size of we have a couple big buildings sitting out at Tahoe, Reno that have been vacant for over 1,000 days, which we don't underwrite 1,000 days down, I can assure you of that. But if you look, you've got, a couple of buildings and a square footage of 2.5 million square feet that's vacant. You take that out of the vacancy, and all of a sudden there's 2 to 3% right there. Yeah. So and there's a couple deals right now that actually may land in the first quarter that will take that away. So I think our customers sit back and say wow, it's 15%, things have fallen through the floor. Well, not really. I mean, we grew at a time when it made sense to grow. And in our business, it's 6 to 8 months for a new building to be built, so we probably should have built the last few that were built. It happened. We're going to absorb that. And we're going to go back from a 15, 16% vacancy, you know, right away just in a couple of buildings. So, you know, it's tough times right now. I mean, companies are not growing. I think everyone understands that the market's reset. It doesn't matter what people were paying before. It doesn't matter what your square footage was before. The new world is business was off 20, 30%. Square footage reductions are 20, 30%. I'm not saying the market's going to contract 20 or 30% from what it is now, but you know, I think, you know, certainly we're going to see kind of a topsy-turvy 2010. I feel like our weeks, you know, sometimes some weeks we're very busy, some weeks we're not. So I'm not going to pin a date on when we're going to be back down to a healthy 7 to 9% range. We will get there. We went up fast, we came down hard, and there's just not that much, you know, to actually make up to where we get back to that level playing field again. So.
Okay, thanks, Brandon.